Welcome to Real Talk with Kay Quinn. This is a community-oriented show discussing racial divide and very real issues that repeatedly plague and disenfranchise our community. Mutual freedom is our ultimate goal, and here to help facilitate that, our host, Kay Quinn.
Good morning, good Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome to Real Talk. I am your host, Kay Quinn, and today is Sunday, July the 21st, and my guest today is Jim. Now, Jim has asked me to only use his first name, so I'm going to respect that, and I'm not going to use his last name. But Jim and I had a conversation regarding this whole Trayvon Martin murder and that devastating, or what I perceive as being devastating, that not guilty verdict of George Zimmerman. And while so many are saying, including Jim, that this case is not about race, quite frankly, I disagree. So I saw the need and the opportunity to bring black views and white views together in an effort to at least understand each side's points of view. And now I have to say this because I am a black female, and I want to be explicitly clear in saying that I do not speak on behalf of all black people. I am only speaking for Kay Quinn. Likewise, I don't believe Jim is going to be speaking on behalf of all white people simply because he is white male. But however, if we're going to bring about a change in any of this, I don't believe we have time to be timid. I don't believe we have time to be fearful. But what I do believe is that we've got to kind of put ourselves out there, and that's exactly what Jim and I are doing this morning. So we're going to have a casual conversation about just how different blacks and whites are viewing this same tragic event in light of having the same set of circumstances to go on. And Albert Einstein once said that the world is a very dangerous place, not because bad people do bad things, but because good people do nothing. And with that being said, I want to thank you, Jim, for even agreeing to come on the show on such short notice and engage in this dialogue with me, because only a good-hearted person would agree to do that. And you certainly didn't have to, but I think you agree that this conversation is needed, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate your willingness to take part and be a part of this.
Well, Kay, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here with you. And I do think it's a very important issue that needs to be addressed by our entire country. You and I do disagree about the Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman case. My point of view is that it is not about race. And the fact that our president and our Attorney General are making it a race issue is more divisive in this country than trying to bring it together.
And I'm going to touch on that, Jim, and I am, because I have, our conversation, and I have all the quotes that, and we're going to address that because I have the quotes that you've made. So we're going to address that. But I want to open today's conversation with a letter that I received in my inbox. Now, the author of this letter, he didn't sign it with his name, but I found it to be quite interesting nonetheless. So I'm going to read this letter, and I want to get your take on this letter. Okay? He says, I am a 56-year-old white man whose father came from Eastern European immigrants and whose mother came from Confederate families of Virginia. I am married to an African-American woman. I have a mixed-race son of 17 years old, of who I fear for every day. On the day Trayvon Martin was murdered, my view of myself as a father was forever altered. This case and the subsequent verdict have underscored for me that this country has not yet moved beyond the racism used to justify the abhorrent institution of slavery. It is more insidious now, being hidden in cold language and insinuations rather than explicit statements. Although I can never fully appreciate the experiences and fears of a black man, I know the fear in the heart of every black father. My goal is to keep the conversation about race going with my son and anyone who's willing to have an open mind and heart, to make clear that not all white men harbor these beliefs, and that likely most of us wish to have fairness and justice and to be independent of the color of one's skin. I will write and talk about this to whoever will listen. I will work as hard as I can to move against the NRA, who is mysteriously silent on this case, because it is my firm belief that this frightened little man without the concealed gun would have never escalated his actions to the point of confronting this teenager, much less shooting him dead. I will work to see that Stand Your Ground initiatives fail wherever I can, because Trayvon Martin wasn't afforded his right to stand his ground after being stalked and harassed by a strange adult. That Stand Your Ground is a license to kill, an instrument of oppression. I fear for my country. If we white men cannot overcome our silly fear of the future, or where a stacked deck doesn't give us an unfair advantage, we are Americans. We don't fear the future. I will not fear the future. I will embrace it. This is my pledge. And that's simply how he signed it. This is my pledge. So what do you think about what was said in that letter?
Well, there's absolutely nothing in that letter that I can disagree with or that I would stand against. I think the man has expressed his true feelings, and I appreciate that fact. However, I will go back to the situation that this was not a race issue in Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. It was an issue of two people both trying to represent their responsibilities. George Zimmerman was a neighborhood watchman, and he was there to try to protect his neighborhood.
Okay.
I don't think it makes any difference whether Trayvon Martin was black or white or Hispanic or green, blue, or any other color. If he would have been acting suspiciously as a neighborhood watchman, George Zimmerman had all rights to follow him.
So what is acting suspiciously? What is that? What was the suspicious act? We know by the facts that he was standing at the mailboxes because it was raining, and he was waiting for the rain to slack up and talking on the phone at the time. So that's a fact. We know that. We know that George Zimmerman saw him standing at the mailboxes, because when he called 911, that was the first thing. He said, well, he's standing at the mailboxes. So, okay. And then